All right, so this review is for P1, P2 for your quiz. That's tomorrow. The ones that are starred are most similar to the ones that you're going to see on your quiz. So, for the first three, it asks you to graph the inequality and write the interval notation. Tomorrow on your quiz, it'll literally give you a number line that is blank. The only thing it'll have on it are the little ticks. And you are to put the numbers in and then do your open or close circles with your line and do that way. Underneath that number line that is blank that you are filling in will be the words interval notation with a blank line. The interval notation part you will put on that line. Okay? I'm gonna show you. Promise. For number 1, we have x is less than -5. So on this one, to graph the number line, you are going to draw out your number line, find the -5. Because this one is not equal to, you are going to put an open circle on it. In your inequality, the x comes first, so look at the sign and the way that it's pointed to. It points to the left, so your line will run to the left. Now write your interval notation based off of your number line. Your interval notation, look at the numbers that are covered by the line that you drew over the number line. The lowest number that this goes to is -infinity. The highest that it goes to, where your circle is -5. That -infinity automatically gets parentheses. The -5, because the circle is open, will also get parentheses. That's it. So number line, interval notation. For number 2, you have x is greater than or equal to 8. So for your number line, find the 8. You are going to put a closed circle on this one because it's also equal to. X comes first in your inequality, so your line is going to go to the right since your sign points to the right. From here, our line goes to the right, so it's going to go all the way to +infinity. So the lowest number that line that we drew over the number line covers is 8. Then again, it goes to +infinity. It goes on for forever. To the right, goes to +infinity. The infinity automatically gets the parentheses. The 8, however, there is a closed circle on that, so it gets your bracket. For number 3, this one has a star on it, so this one's like one of the ones you're going to see on your quiz. You have -1 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 4. The first thing you should do with these compound inequalities is to separate it into 2 separate inequalities. You are going to have x and -1. You're going to have another one that's x and 4. Between the x and the -1, the sign is open to x, so keep it open to x. Remember the line underneath it. Between the x and the 4, your sign is open to the 4, so it stays open to 4. No line underneath that one. So now you have 2 different inequalities. So when you go to graph on your number line, you're going to find the -1 and the 4. On the -1, your sign is also equal to, so you are going to put a closed circle on that. That line is going to go to the right, since when you rewrote the inequality and x came first, your sign points to the right. On the 4, you are going to have an open circle on 4 because x is just less than 4. It doesn't also include it. From there, your line is going to point to the left. Now, because these 2 lines overlap, the only point or only part that you want to include is the part that overlaps. So it's only between the -1 and the 4. So if you want to do what I did just now and erase what's past them and just darken over where they overlap, you can do that tomorrow on your quiz. I would prefer you to do that. From here, state the interval notation. The lowest number that the line that's over the number line covers is -1. The highest is 4. That -1 has a closed circle on it, so we're going to put a bracket on the -1. The 4 has an open circle on it, so we put a parentheses on it. That's it. For number 4 and 5, you're just finding the absolute value for these. Remember, the absolute value is the distance between that number and 0 on the number line. So for number 4, you have the absolute value of -12. That's just +12. For 5, you have the absolute value of 6, which, again, just a positive 6. For the next set of questions, you are evaluating each expression for the given value of the variable. So you're told what the variable is equal to, plug it in for the variable in the expression, and just simplify using your order of operations. For number 6, you have 5x plus 12, where x is equal to negative 8. You're going to plug the negative 8 in anywhere you see an x. So that means you're going to have 5 times negative 8 plus 12. The 5 times negative 8 is negative 40 plus 12. You're going to have to keep the sign in front of the bigger number, which in this case is negative, and subtract the two numbers. That 0 would turn into 10, the 4 would turn into 3, so 10 minus 2 is 8, 3 minus 1 is 2, so that's negative 28. For number 7, you have negative 4x squared plus 5x minus 6, where x is equal to negative 3. Again, anywhere there's an x, it's going to become 3. So that's going to give you negative 4 times 3 squared plus 5 times 3 minus 6. Use your order of operations. You've got to do the exponent first before you do anything else. So the 3 squared goes first. If negative 4 is going to stay, 3 squared becomes 9 plus 5 times 3 minus 6. Next, you're going to multiply or divide from left to right. That means the negative 4 times 9 would go first, so that would give you negative 36 plus 5 times 3 minus 6. Next would be the 5 times 3, which is 15. So that's negative 36 plus 15 minus 6. From here, combine the negative 36 and the 15. That gives you a negative 21. Remember, different signs. Keep the sign in front of the large number and subtract. From here, you have negative 21 minus 6. Same signs. Keep the sign. Add them. So that's negative 27. So your final answer for this one is just the negative 27. Again, this one is starred, so you're gonna see one like this tomorrow on your quiz. For number 8, you are simplifying 13 over 5 times 15 over 2. Check to see if you can cross-simplify before you multiply.
5 and 15.
Great. 5 and 15 are both divisible by what number?
5.
The 5 turns into 1, but the 15 turns into what?
3.
There you go. So now from here, the 13 and the 2 don't cross-simplify. The only factors that they share is 1. So multiply straight across. The 13 times 3 gives us?
39.
Wow, not 36, 39. Over 1 times 2? 2. If you simplified by diagonally cross-simplifying before you multiplied, you should not have to simplify here. Okay, the only time you'd have to do that is if you didn't simplify fully. So for this one, your answer is the 39 over 2. For number 9, you got a star on that one, so it's important.
Oh, just keep change, please.
Yep.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, wait, what?
So with this one, before you do anything, you have to keep change flip. So keep the first fraction, change to multiplication, flip the second fraction. So you're going to have 5 over 6 times 20 over 9. Do not cross-simplify first. You're going to get it wrong. From here, diagonally check to see if you can simplify. You have 5 and 9. Nope.
Boring, though.
The 6 and 20, they both are divisible by what number?
2,
So 6 turns into,
3,
20 turns into,
10,
so 5 times 10,
50,
and 3 times 9.
27.
So that's 50 over 27. For number 10, you have 3xy to the second power. You have a power outside of parentheses. That means that that power goes to every term inside. So it goes to the y, it goes to the x, it goes to the 3. So 3 squared, x squared, and y squared. The 3 squared gives us 9. X squared is x squared, and y squared is y squared. So that's just 9x squared, y squared. That's your answer.
What?
11 is probably the easiest one on this review.
It's 0.
Nope. Anything to the power of 0 is
1.
1.
I love that one.
So it's just 1.
So it's not on the test though?
It might be.
Can we get like 2 of them?
There's no star.
So what does that mean? There's no star, then
It's on the test. It's self-explanatory. Let's keep going.
for your next one,
I am.
number 12 has a star on it.
Oh, do it.
Yeah. So 12, you have 3xy to the 4th power times negative 2x cubed y squared, all raised to the 5th power. Do the 5th power first. You need to simplify that. So that 5th power is going to go to the y squared, the x cubed, the 2, and the negative 1. The negative that's in front of that 2 is the same exact thing as saying negative 1 times 2. It needs to go to every single part. So that 3x y to the 4th does not change. You're going to do negative 1 to the 5th power, 2 to the 5th power, x cubed to the 5th power, and y squared to the 5th power. When you have a power raised to a power, what do you do with them? Multiply them.
Multiply them.
So this becomes 3xy to the 4th power times negative 1 times 2 to the 5th power is 32. X to the 3rd power raised to the 5th power, multiply those powers, gives you x to the 15th power. Y to the 2nd power raised to the 5th power, multiply those powers, that's y to the 10th power. So now bring this all back together. You are going to multiply 3xy to the 4th power by negative 32, x to the 15th power, y to the 10th power. Now in this part, you are multiplying two bases that are the same with your x and your x to the 15th power. Your y to the 4th power and your y to the 10th power. So you're going to have to add their powers. Your rule when you're multiplying is if the base is the same, add the powers, keep the base. If it's a power to a power, keep the base, multiply your powers. So make sure you know how to tell the difference between those two. The 3 times the negative 32. A positive times a negative is a negative. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. That's negative 96. You have x or x to the 1st power times x to the 15th power. Add the powers. Then you have y to the 4th power times y to the 10th power. Add the powers. This simplifies fully to be negative 96, x to the 16th power, y to the 14th power.
Where are the four?
I'm definitely getting this one.
For 13, it's not that hard. It looks hard, but it's not that hard. It does have a star on it, though, so make sure you're paying attention to it.
Yeah, that's
For 13, you have 4x squared y over 3x to the 4th power y cubed, all raised to the negative 2nd power. I don't like that negative 2nd power, so I'm going to simplify that first. To turn that negative 2 into a positive, I am going to flip the fraction. So it turns into a positive, I'm flipping this fraction. So I have 3x to the 4th power y cubed over 4x squared y, now raised to the positive 2nd power. So from here, you're going to simplify inside those parentheses. Separate what you have. So you're going to have 3/4. You're going to have x to the 4th power over the 2nd. So your rule is keep the variable, subtract their powers. So it's going to be 4 minus 2. And then the y to the 3rd power minus the 1st power. You are going to keep the power of that 2 on the outside of this. Because your rule when you're dividing two bases that are the same is to keep the base and subtract their powers. So from here, you're going to have 3/4. You have x to the 2nd power, and you have y to the 2nd power. And then these are raised to the 2nd power. These have positive powers on them, on the x and the y. So they're both going to go up top on that fraction. So you're going to have 3x squared y squared over 4 raised to the 2nd power. From here, you have to simplify that 2nd power on the outside. Apply it to both the numerator and the denominator. If you apply it to both the numerator and the denominator, it's going to give you the 3x squared y squared raised to the 2nd power. And then the 4 Raise to the second power. I know. So from here, you are going to raise every part of the numerator to the second power. So 3 to the second power is 9. X squared to the second power, multiply the powers, that's x to the fourth. Y squared to the second power, again, multiply the powers, that's y to the fourth power. On the bottom, you have 4 squared, which is just 16. That's your answer.
So you have to square everything?
Yep, everything.
Wow.
For number 14, you have the square root of 8 times the square root of 2. In your notes, just like the one in your notes, would just be the square root of 8 times 2, which is the square root of 16, and that's 4. For 15, however, you have the square root of 46 times the square root of 18. Do not do things the hard way. Find the factors of 46, find the factors of 18. 46 is 2 and 23. 18 is 2 and 9. 9 is 3 and 3. So this is the same thing as the square root of 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 23. It's all of your factors from both numbers. From here, since you're finding the square root, it's understood that our index is 2. Group up your sets of 2. You're going to pull a 2 out, you pull a 3 out, you're going to multiply those together. Left over is that 23. It stays underneath the radical. So if you multiply the numbers that you pulled out, that's 6 square root 23. For 16 and 17, it asks you to rationalize the denominator. 16 is the 7th one out of these that is starred, so that's a hint. For this one, you have 3 over 8 plus the square root of 2. You need to find the conjugate first of that denominator. You find the conjugate by keeping the two terms but changing the sign in between them. So you're going to put parentheses around the denominator, keep the 8, keep the square root of 2. Instead of putting the plus in front of them, put a minus in between them, in between them. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So if you're going to multiply the bottom by this 8 minus square root 2, you have to multiply the top by 8 minus the square root of 2 as well. Multiply this out. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times negative square root 2, negative 3 square root 2. In the bottom, you're going to FOIL it. 8 times 8, 64. 8 times the negative square root 2, negative 8 square root 2. The square root of 2 times 8 is positive 8 square root 2. The square root of 2 times the negative square root of 2, negative square root 4. Simplify what you have. The 24 minus 3 square root 2, keep it 24 minus 3 square root 2. You can't do anything with it. On the bottom, the 64 is going to stay. The 8 square root 2 and the negative 8 square root 2 are opposites, so they cancel. That's the whole idea with this, is to cancel out the radical in the denominator if you are rationalizing the denominators. From here, that square root of 4 is 2, so you're going to do minus 2. Now the only thing you have to do is simplify your denominator and then simplify the fraction if you can. Top is going to stay 24 minus 3 square root 2. Bottom, 64 minus 2 is 62. There are no common factors between 24, 3, and 62, so that is your answer. For 17, it's just like 16, so you might see one like this also. You have negative 4 over the square root of 3 minus 5. Put parentheses in the denominator, find the conjugate of the denominator. Keep both terms, change the sign between them. That's going to give you the square root of 3 plus 5. Multiply the top by the square root of 3 plus 5 as well. The negative 4 times the square root of 3 is negative 4 square root 3. The negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. In the denominator, the square root of 3 times the square root of 3, the square root of 9. Square root 3 times 5 is 5 square root 3. Negative 5 times the square root of 3 is negative 5 square root 3. Negative 5 times 5 is negative 25. From here, simplify. Up top, keep it the negative 4 square root 3 minus 20. On the bottom, those 5 square root 3's are opposites, so they cancel. The square root of 9 is 3 minus 25. From here, you're going to have negative 4 square root 3 minus 20 over negative 22. These are all opposites, and they're all negative, and they're all divisible by 2. So you can divide all of it by negative 2. This would turn into 11, this would turn into 10, this would turn into 2. So it's 2 square root 3 plus 10 over 11. I'm not going to do the last two with you because I don't want to confuse you. You're not going to see the ones where you're rationalizing the numerator on your quiz, but in order to do so, you would literally just take the conjugate of the numerator and multiply it by the top and the bottom. You'd be left with rationals or radicals in your denominator, just not the numerator.